The first single is Rainmaker. Tell the audience
Mm.
about that song.
So Greg D'Angelo from White Lion played drums on that. Greg was in the original formation of the band, and that was recorded in his garage originally on an 8-track Tascam cassette. Wasn't a quarter-inch tape, wasn't a 2-inch tape. It was actually on a cassette. So we did quite a bit of work. He did a phenomenal job, incredible job. Greg was our original drummer, and he's a big Bonham fan. He loves Zeppelin, and it's just naturally, I don't know what it is, whether it's the rain, whether we're all raised in the countryside over there, but it's got a kind of, English sort of players have a feel about them. And that song, the music of that song was actually written before I met Paul. So Rowan and I, we were rooming together at the time, Rowan Robertson, we were really into the Sonic Temple album, the
Oh,
Colts'
yeah. Yeah.
new album at the time that Bob Brock had produced, and they were stepping more into a heavier, you know, production with heavy Les Pauls under 12 strings and stuff. It was really cool. And so we were listening to that a lot. And the Rainmaker riff came out of one night just listening to Sonic Temple on headphones, listening to that album over and over and over. And then the riff, came out on a 12 string. And I borrowed Rowan's Les Paul to record the really heavy guitar underneath it. And it just happened. And then, when we were looking for singers before I found Paul, we had a couple of other singers that we were looking at, and they were, great guys. They weren't quite right. And actually, bless his heart, Glenn Hughes came down and listened
Mm,
to the track. It was
yeah.
great to meet. It was great to meet him, because the story behind wanting to get an English blues singer actually came from a charity gig that Greg, James, Kelly, and myself did in Hollywood. So Kelly was doing it was with another band, and Greg, James, and myself and Ray Gillen from Badlands were doing some Deep Purple numbers for this charity gig. And it was after that, after playing with Ray and experience, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I need. I kind of need that type of thing. And he was the one that said, get a blues singer to me. And so that's how it all came. That's how it all came about. So the music was written before I met Paul, and then he heard it, and then he put the melody and the lyrics, down on that really, really quickly. And I knew then that there was something before we'd actually really written together. I knew then that we would be able to produce some good music together, because there was a chemistry there. And we had so much fun. I mean, it's like anything in life. If you can't laugh about it and you can't have fun, what's the bloody point? So we would have a lot of fun, when we were writing stuff like that. But that came about. That was the first song actually that Paul and I wrote together. But it was done. The music was already written, and he put the lyrics and the melodies and the vocal on it. All of the other songs were actually written together, kind of at the same time. So I'd come up with a riff, and then he'd come up with a melody, or he'd come up with a melody, and I'd come up with some words, or he'd come up with some words, and I'd come up with a melody. So all the other songs were actually written together as completely. Every song on the album is Paul and I just together as one creating this new thing. Yeah, which was really cool. So, and I didn't experience that kind of. I'd written with some and worked with some great artists. I mean, it was great to work with Kevin DuBrow when I was working with him when he wanted to reform Quiet Riot. It was a different thing. It was great working with Kelly, but the thing with Paul, because of the English thing, it was just there, So